and hi everyone. Welcome to the People's Food Summit, the African segment. Today I'm with a young and vibrant man from Malawi. His name is Jazzakah. Jazz, as we fondly call him on this side of the world, is a farmer, an agroecological practitioner, as well as an employee of an organization called Scope Malawi. There'll be links for anyone who'd like to follow his work. But over and above that, he plays a very important role in the Southern African region, is the youth coordinator under our network partner called Seed and Knowledge Initiative. Jazz, thank you so much for joining us on this call and for coming to be a voice for the youths, especially to the People's Food Summit and World Food Day. So over to you, Jazz, for you to take us through your journey, and we'll have an opportunity to be chatting while we are also sharing your story.
Thank you very much, Precious, for having me. Like you said, my name is Jazzakah. Some call me Jazz, like you actually said, because they found the name actually long. So yeah, I work for an organization called Schools and College Permaculture, SCOPE. I'm the projects officer, where I foresee almost all the projects for the organization. And I think my journey in terms of into this field started when actually I was working under an organization. It's a youth-led organization called Concerned Youth Organization, where I was actually a project officer for a project that we were actually implementing regarding the climate mitigation and adaptation interventions. So that was my journey just after I graduated. But from there, then I started working with Scope in 2017. That's where I was introduced to agroecology and permaculture concepts. That's where the exposure almost opened everything for me. Yeah, now I could say I'm part of the agroecology field person.
And Jazz, what would have inspired you? I imagine you're a young man, vibrant. What drew you close to permaculture and agroecology in the beautiful land of Malawi?
Yeah, I think growing up as a child, it has always been part of my day-to-day life for me, because I couldn't even differentiate what is farming and what is culture. Because every day when I wake up in the morning, I know I see my father and my mother going to work. And this work we are talking about is farming. So yeah, growing up, I think that also led me to actually pursuing my studies in college. I did agriculture education. So yeah, so I also did some teaching, where I'm also qualified to teach in secondary school in a field of agriculture. But then the type of agriculture that we learn in college is actually very different to the what we're actually talking about in terms of agroecology. So to some level, for me, it has always been difficult to actually understand what is happening in terms of the food systems that we are actually advocating and what is happening to our farmers. And this is per se, we are talking about my parents, the way how they farm. And you see that I used to have all these indigenous seeds. And in fact, when I talk to my mother to say, this is what we're actually doing, she loves to say, this is what we've been doing, but everything changed. What changed is now whereby we have been poisoned by, I think, the fast growing food industry, where everything that is actually too fast to actually grow, we want to actually get fast yields, more yields. That is perpetually being done by the corporate world, where they're actually advocating for farmers to actually use the synthetic fertilizers and everything that is associated with it. So with that in mind, you find that farmers are actually moving away from the indigenous way of actually doing things. In the process, this is where we have issues to do with food insecurity in the communities. Currently, my parents, they are unable to even harvest maize, because for them it's just maize. But then recently, with the understanding that I have now, they've actually gone back to the diversification of different crops that we are actually trying to do. But now they are growing the sorghums, they are growing the millets, they are growing the sweet potatoes and the cassavas, and all this is because now I'm influencing, because they shifted because of the way how this world is actually moving.
That's pretty awesome. And amazing how almost all of us really in our region, we all have our roots that trace back to how we grew up rural with farming parents. We were mostly just farming for sustainability for our everyday feeding. And we've sort of watched things change. So I want you to take us through your journey at Scope and Sky. I'm just inviting you. You can share some images if you have some. But for us to know, your voice is so powerful in our sub-region, and truly grateful that you're here to share with us all your wisdom.
Yeah, thank you. Can I share my screen?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I think like I said, I work as a projects officer for the organization Scope. At the same time, I'm also coordinating the youth work under under SKY, which is the Seed and Knowledge Initiative program. So SKY is actually a 15 partner-led organization that is actually looking to securing food sovereignty in the region, particularly in 4 countries. We're talking about Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, as well as South Africa. So that's where Scope is actually part and parcel of this network of organizations. And in terms of the contextual situation, which the area that we are actually operating, we are talking about in Southern Africa, where a growing number of youth actually being part of the population, which is the majority. And we are also looking at the increased number of employment levels, where we are talking about youth are unable to actually get work or jobs such that they need something to do in terms of income. At the same time, we are also facing a number of degradation, environmental wise. We are talking about issues to do with soils being depleted. We're talking about environment being actually degraded. We're talking about people actually cutting down trees, the kind of farming that we actually, we just talked about it. So yeah, that is actually the contextual situation that we are talking about. At the same time, understanding that these are the issues that we are facing, there is a recognition that youth involvement in agroecology is very little. At the same time, we also find that it's very challenging for youth to be engaged in agroecology, not only agroecology, but farming at large. Because for youth, we are just talking about the same yesterday, where we have cases in terms of the way how we publicize issues to do with farming. It's also related to things that to do with people who are actually old. The youth are not part and parcel of this conceptual agroecology work. So for us, we understand that for sustainability of the agroecology work and the thing farmer-led seed system, we have to integrate youth. We also understand that if we are to actually shun away from the unemployment crisis, we have to get agroecology as a contribution to the unemployment cases. But also understanding that the innovation that youth actually portray, that also gives us a way to adapt in terms of reshaping the food systems. At the same time, we also understand, on the other hand, that youth, they may be custodians for our lands in the future. At the same time, we say that they are actually the future. At the same time, we also say that they are part of and parcel of this future that we are talking about. So that led to the establishment of a youth thematic group that focuses on seeing youth participation in agroecology as well as a movement in the Southern Africa through agroecology enterprises. So the purpose is to facilitate an increased or continuous engagement that support young people in agroecology's work implemented by the SKY partners. These SKY partners are the 15 organizations that we are talking about. So that's basically what led to this movement of youth thematic group.
That's awesome. So what is in the pipeline right now? I know you're working with schools as well. And but
yes.
at the regional level, for example, this week, I know you guys are at the Seed and Food Festival, the National Seed and Food Festival. Thank you for coming to Zimbabwe, to our country. I also have a team and communal members that I work with that are on the way, and I know you guys will connect with all the youths that we also sent this year. I think we're all waking up to this, and for me, it's been wonderful for us as RI and as Precious to also participate in the thematic group for the youth. I think it has opened pathways also for the communities that I work with. But what are the plans ahead, and how do you feel about it? Are you seeing a good beat, a good rhythm of movement?
Okay. Thank you for that, Precious. I think in terms of understanding, normally we assume that the youth are very passive reactors. That's the very bad assumption. But when it comes to things, if you expose the youth, they will be very reactive to things. So understanding also from the background that change is always difficult from when it comes from outside. But then when you actually are exposed, that's where it comes from within, because it's really difficult to be influenced from outside. So normally, so from the work with schools and college permaculture, we are actually undergoing a number of different interventions. One of them is looking at environmental education that focuses on the in-school and out-school youth. We are talking about primary school, secondary school, even colleges. Thus, we do implementation of the school health and nutrition programs, focusing on forest, food forest, gardening, and diversification of different school premises. We also try to bring in a concept of integrated land use design that focuses on how do we utilize space in terms of, because different schools have different landscapes altogether. So there are some schools which are urban, there are some schools which are very in rural, who have so much land and they can do things at the same time. But how do we maximize different landscapes? And this is where the integrated land use design is coming from. And some of the things that we also do is soil and water management. We teach learners into soil makings. We teach learners into mulching and different biofertilizer recipes. So that is the work that I do at Scope Malawi. But at the regional level, this is where we are coming in with a different agroecology enterprises that are focusing on how the youth are coming up to get motivated into the agroecology work. Because from my understanding as a youth as well, because you also mentioned that I'm also a farmer, and part of the work that I do is to actually get something. If you don't motivate the youth to get money, then this is the work that is actually going to be a lose-lose for everyone. So for them, somehow they are attracted to issues to do with income generating. This is where the agroecology enterprise is actually coming into play. So we have fish farming, livestock production, beekeeping. Some are actually being taught into rocket stove, which we call Chitete Zombaula in our country. But this is actually a work that is being done by different organizations at a regional level. We have organizations who are from here in Zimbabwe, where we are talking about Tsuro, Polet, these are some of the organizations that are actually doing quite a number of interventions. And you also mentioned about the campaigns. This is the farmers' rights campaign. This where we are integrating the youth, but we also understand that if we are talking about agroecology, it starts from somewhere. This somewhere is the seed. If you don't have seed, I don't think you can cultivate anything that we are talking about here. So now this is where we are actually advocating for the farmers' rights campaigns, and we have the seed and food fairs that are actually done at a community level, at the national level. This is where the Good Food Festival is coming in into play. So we are here in Zimbabwe trying to also be part and parcel of the movement that we are talking about, because understanding that celebration of our food and celebration of our seeds and celebration of our different recipes that are actually associated, and anything that is coming with the traditional understanding of the traditional knowledges that is associated to the seed is actually, this is where we are here in Zimbabwe. So we have different activities that are going to be happening here in Zimbabwe, where we are also going to be engaged in terms of publicity, awareness program, that where the issues to do with technology is coming in, the different of videos, arts, music, and different type of celebration that is associated to that. But also outside that, we are also talking about landscape restoration. These are the programs that are done at the regional level, where we have programs that whereby tree planting, water harvesting. We're talking about using sports to lower the youth in agroecology. And we understand that the youth love sports so much. This is where we have organizations that are actually using sports to actually get the youth engaged into agroecology. I also talked about technologies. You can see from this slide, we have that far right corner where a young man is actually using to pilot with the is actually doing a piloting of the
drone.
piloting of the of the drone. Yes. So these are the initiatives that are happening within the Sky partners. So if you're talking about the Skywake, I mean at a regional level, these are some of the initiatives that we are actually promoting.
That's incredible. I mean, why do you think this work is important? I know we just have very limited time, but in your own words and thought processes, why do you think this is important, given the challenges that youth are facing in these days? Over and above unemployment, we have heavy substance abuse that is rendering most youths really hopeless in the economy front. And we don't see a future at the moment unless and until our youths really get immersed into what matters.
Yeah, for me, I think from a personal perspective, if you don't have a purpose in life, then you live in a life that is aimless somehow. Because nowadays, because people, if don't have anywhere to go, no purpose, nothing to do, they would be engaged in a number of things that would be actually detrimental to their lives. So for us, our focus is to actually get the youth out of these zones where it's really inconducive for them to live, as well as for them not to actually be living in a way that they don't have aims and purpose in life. So we actually try to bring a perspective that would be them engaged in something that is going to be powerful, because at the same time, we're also looking at the depleted world that we are living. We have seen climate impacts. We have seen the floods. We have seen different number of the droughts that have actually happened the last season. So all these are actually happening, but we can do something. And then what something can we do that we can actually help our communities? This is where we have a large pool of people, of population that I mentioned in terms of the youth being the majority. But then if we don't empower them, then we have the majority that are actually doing nothing. So this is where the youth work is coming in to actually engage, to actually use this large pool of population to make them engaged and be part and parcel of the agroecology movement. That will help us bring solution to our communities. Because to be honest, the corporate world has failed. It might be imperative to actually understand also that we are also talking about being fed by the same system that is actually failing and over again. But at the same time, we also have to realize that agroecology has actually showed us the diversification, as well as not only diversification, but also the nutrition that comes with the component of the intervention that we are doing. So if we are to engage the youth, we know for sure that we have a large audience that is going to be central into reshaping our food system. So this is where our work is focusing in trying to bring about the participation of our youth in agroecology so that we should be food secure, because food security on its own does not also translate that we have food on our table. Because at the end of the day, we are talking about access utilization, but also we are talking about the issue to do with the freedom with our food, choose to do what we want and to choose to what we grow. This is where food sovereignty is coming into play. So that's why our focus is only to make sure that we have a full participation of our youth, to remove them from the intervention that are actually killing our people in terms of the way how the farming system has been constructed. But we cannot do that on our own. That's why we have this working together kind of concept that we are focusing on, having youth being brought into play.
Thank you, Jazzakah. I mean, just listening to you is bringing so much hope to many that have gone ahead of us, the older people in the community and the older people in the movement. It's amazing to see this whole new front of the youths, and these pictures have been so incredible to also give us that feel what this looks like. In a situation where there's lots of negativity around our youths, around agriculture to the youths, around farming to the youths, I think you guys are bringing back the fun, the realities, and also platforms for sharing so that we all become resilient. Because once we hear stories from Malawi, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Zambia, I think we become an unstoppable force, and we have a way of plugging into the Alliance for Food Sovereignty in Africa, which is AFSA, a bigger body of the network. I think the wave is moving across Africa, and honestly, from Africa to the world. We're going to be changing lives. I believe it. And thank you for being at the head of that struggle, for being the comrade as well as a young man, and to have all the women and girls and go-go's, which are old women and older men, supporting you and holding you high as well, you know, because I'm sure you draw lots of inspiration from everything that happens around you. And I'm personally very inspired, which is why I thought it would be amazing to have you on this call as well.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. Actually, I think, yeah, you of course summarized some of the things that I also wanted to say, because if you're looking at the work, is not only by just having the youth in being part, but also me myself being a youth, I also have to practice. So this is where now the farming part of myself is coming into play, because I understand if I can preach something that I'm unable to do, it becomes so difficult for actually to realize in terms of people to have confidence in me. So this is where I also have about a 14 point something acre of land that I'm also practicing agroecology. And it's a process that is, I'm learning, relearning, unlearning. It's a process that has to be with you. You also mentioned about the exposure from the already powerful movement that we also have. So we have people that have actually vested much in terms of the experiences, in terms of the agroecology work that they have been here for a long time. So we are the youth that are tapping into that knowledge for us to actually practice. This is where some of the intervention that we also have included into this include issues to do with mentorship, to do with having to go somewhere where you know for sure you're going to spend there for maybe your 2 years or 1 year, where you are going to learn about agroecology, not just having a conceptual understanding of what agroecology is all about. So yeah, I guess this is the movement which we have to work together. I understand you mentioned about the struggle. Yes, it's a process. If we can't have patience within the way, yeah, that's where the struggle is coming in.
Yeah. So truly, patience is a virtue, and thank you so much, Jazz. Again, we look forward to just learning a lot more from you, and we'll be following your story. And whenever there's anything new, please don't hesitate to shout, because Regeneration International is a friend of Sky and a friend of AFSA. We've contributed to the barefoot guides on landscape regeneration and the healthy soil and healthy food book by AFSA as well. So we continue to be this co-creator of all the learning, and thank you for contributing so strongly today with great conviction. So thank you, Jazz, again. I hope you have a good time in Zimbabwe at the Seed and Food Festival. Thank you, and we'll speak soon.
Thank you very much, Precious, for having me. Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.